Lai, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We have an exciting Shabbat. We're going to say many, many times Rabbi Barrett is here. We'll say Rabbi Barrett, Rabbi Barrett, Rabbi Barrett as many times as we can, because you like to do that right after you become a rabbi and you earn the title after so many years. So it's a great honor to have Rabbi Barrett on the Bima. And we'll have a talk with her later in our service. So too, it's exciting to have our band, Rob Ross and his band. Karen, Kathy, why don't you introduce us to everybody?
So everybody knows Rob. Wave Rob. And to his left is Jeremy Sosin on guitar, and to his right is David Budin on guitar, and Marlene Krause on flute. So welcome the Rob Ross Band.
Wonderful.
That's what we call you.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that wasn't your touring title.
It's not, but in this building it is.
Okay, great. Great. So it's a great honor to invite Rabbi Barrett and her family, Becky and Lindsay, to come light our Shabbat candles.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. From one blessing to the next, it's an honor to invite Al and Karen Monosoff to the Bima on their fifth wedding, the anniversary of their fifth wedding anniversary. Is it today? Tomorrow, on Shabbat. 5 years ago, Ken or Kathy helped to wed this wonderful couple that even from afar has stayed quite connected to our congregation. So for the 5 years that you've been blessed to be married, and for the 50 more that you have, when we were debating whether it was 5 or 50. So in 50 years, 45 years, we'll be right back here, and we'll say a similar blessing. Oh, well, I'll be here. It's all...
I probably.
And if they aren't, they can't complain. That's it. So please join us in Shakianu on this, the eve of their fifth anniversary.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Mazel tov. That's right. The two of you were pretty important too. We'll turn to page 20 in our prayer books as we welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary, and for those who are joining us from home, into your homes with the words of Lecha Dodi. We reflect back on our week, the places we've been, the people we've shared life with, the blessings, the mistakes. We focus on the blessings in this moment as we begin Shabbat with the blessing, the words of Lecha Dodi, page 20.
Lecha Dodi,
Likrat kala, Penei Shabbat, Mikabela. Penei Shabbat, Mikabela. Shamur v'zah.
שבתחילה לך דודי, לך דודי, לקראת קלה בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה, נקבלה.
Please rise as we face our entrance.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בלד, גם בשמחה וצוחלה, תוך אמוני, עם סגולה. בואי קלה, בואי קלה,
לך דודי, לקראת קלה בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה, נקבלה.
Please remain standing, page 26.
יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך גדולתי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו לעילם ינקור ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דעם ירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Page 28.
Lai, 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 Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Lai, 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 lai.
Page 30. Take note of this footnote at the bottom. Ma'ariv, the word we'll hear in this prayer. It also refers to the mixing suggesting that God mixed light into darkness, implying that the tiniest spark of light can transform the darkness. This is our prayer, to bless the change that we see every day. Perhaps we share it aspirationally now, as we look for the tiniest spark of light in the midst of the darkness that we so often see, to make a change in our world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim uvitvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmoroteim barakia kirtzono. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who's brought this evening into being, skillfully opening gates, thoughtfully altering time and changing seasons, arranging the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. May we find that little spark of light in the midst of whatever darkness there is. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. And may we come to bless it as a sign of change. Page 32, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha Avta, Amcha Avta. Torah umitzvot, Ukim umishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shofenu, Tumenu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. Amcha ahavta.
Page 34 and 35.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one.
Yes,
We will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated and join us in V'ahavta, page 36.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher Elohi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam V'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'letecha v'derech, u'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotavot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha. Lema'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim l'Elohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem l'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Please join me at the top of page 39. We say together, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני,
מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. זה אלינו ויאמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא.
Page 42 and 43. Listen to these words. Give us a place to rest, God. Bring us into shelter. For with you are true protection and safety. In your presence, acceptance and love. These words were written because it was believed that every night we face life and death as the world gets dark and we go into our beds, that it was scary. This prayer was written to remind us that, in fact, when we lay down at night, that should be a safe place. What would we add to that list now? Places that should be safe, that aren't. Schools, hospitals, funerals, synagogues. We should be saying this prayer morning, afternoon, and evening because we have to remind our world, ourselves, our friends, those who might have different values than us, that these are shared values, that there should be places that are not scary and safe. And so we listen to these words now, to this beautiful music, this prayer intended for the evening, and now for the entirety of the day. Page 42 and 43, the words of Hashkivenu.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Beha'amidenu, Shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot Shalom-Alecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai
Eloheinu
Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu,
peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us.
Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We pray as if everything depended upon God, but we are reminded to act knowing that everything might depend upon us. Please rise. Our most personal prayers reaching back to the names of our ancestors and then into the present, where we will write these prayers for ourselves with a silent meditation. Page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידה מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל.
אתה הקדוש ושמך הקדוש וקדושים בכל יום, יהללוך הסלע ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, for wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer our thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. May one day we find that we give thanks for the greatest sense of peace to have found its way to our world. We pray in our lifetime. Shalom Rav, page 60.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom
כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, מלך אדון לכל השלום. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam.
Tov beinecha livarich itamcha Yisrael b'chol hitu v'chol shah bishlomecha bishlomecha.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav.
Please take a few moments for silent meditation. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down.
May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom, be Roma. Oh, say shalom, be Roma. Oh, say shalom, be Huya se shalom, Huya se shalom, Huya se shalom, Alleluia. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Amen. Sing with us. Oh, say shalom, be Roma. That's all it is. Come on. Oh, say shalom. Be Roma, oh, say shalom. Be Roma, oh, say shalom. Be Roma.
Having shared our prayers for peace for this world, we turn and offer prayers for peace for those who are suffering, especially those whom we know and love. The words of Misha Berach, page 253.
Sheberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
If there's a name you'd like to share, please share it as we look around the room.
Lori Zuckerman, Reed Wasserstrom, Kathy Meyerson, Jerry Gordon. Mi sheberach imoteinu mekor habracha le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema,
The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Many of you know that a couple weeks ago I unfortunately tested positive for COVID, so I got to catch up on all my Netflix. And I watched, you may have seen, there's a David Letterman, he doesn't, he's not on cable anymore. There's a show he has called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. And I think in our circles here at Temple Israel, our next guest needs no introduction. But it's so fun to introduce her because all of the bullet points of her life are personal to us also. So I'm going to give a formal introduction to Rabbi Ashley Barrett, who was born and raised, in Worcester, Ohio, but who calls her spiritual home Temple Israel in Akron, Ohio. Ashley earned her bachelor's degree in history and Jewish studies, this is my favorite part of her bio, from Miami University in 2014, and her Master of Arts in Hebrew Letters from HUC-JIR in 2021. She was ordained in 2022, just 2 weeks ago, and in a few weeks, she will serve as a rabbi at Northern Virginia Hebrew Congregation just outside of Washington, D.C. So it's a wonderful, wonderful honor to have Rabbi Ashley Barrett as our guest this evening. So. So Ashley just completed 5 years of graduate school and a thesis, and this is her real test. This is going to be... So first, tell us about Northern Virginia Hebrew Congregation. Give us a thumbnail. Tell us where you're going to be a rabbi.
So I'm going to be the assistant rabbi and director of congregational learning at NVHC. It's in Reston, Virginia. So it's right outside of DC, very close to Dulles Airport. So if you're ever in the area, send me a message. I would love to get coffee.
So I called Ashley a little over a week ago and said, I think we should do this because I remember being where you are, and the best metaphor I can come up with is it's like new car smell. It's like everything's perfect right now, but you haven't really done anything yet. You don't have any miles on the car. And so everything is exactly as it should be because you've come from this Jewish community at HUC that has helped to get you to this point. And I remember feeling like for years I had waited to do all these things we've been talking about doing, to drive this car. Then, which Ashley already knows, but she'll know even more, then you get on the roads and it's all a little different. So before before the roads wear you down a little bit with, take you in different directions, let's talk about this idealistic moment of leaving, graduating from HUC, being a rabbi. What do you think is the most exciting thing happening in the Jewish world right now, from your perspective, coming out of becoming a rabbi in this last month? When you look out at the Jewish world, what excites you?
So many things excite me about Judaism and the Jewish world. I'm really excited to have this honor of being part of the leadership of the people that have meant so much to me growing up, and being able to facilitate this learning that I've loved to do over the course of my life. That really excites me. What's also really exciting about this moment is we're kind of making history every day. Today, of all days, is the 50th anniversary of the ordination of the first female rabbi. We celebrated her at our ordination a few weeks ago. She offered a phenomenal sermon and blessing for myself and for the rest of my class. So it's a big moment, and we've grown so much in the last 50 years, in the last decades since Reform Judaism started in this country, and we only have more to do and more to grow, and it's very exciting for me to be a part of that.
So I want to ask you a more personal question in a way, which is, other than getting a paycheck, what are you most excited about as you enter the rabbinate? And I'll tell you what my answer was. The paycheck is obvious because you pay a lot of student loans in order to get to that paycheck. But when I went to school, I was in LA, and I had 5 years of books that were all stacked in my bedroom. So this doesn't have to be a deep rabbinic answer. I'm curious, what is it that you're most excited about personally as you enter the rabbinate? For me, it was bookshelves that weren't in my bedroom. You can have a deeper answer. I'm a superficial rabbi, but you can.
My fiance is very excited for stacks of books to not be all over the apartment, that's for sure. It's been great packing up my library over the last couple of weeks. But I'm really excited to, enter this role specifically and work on a team. I have a senior rabbi and a cantor at the synagogue who I'm very excited to work with. And just learn so much and be able to work with kids again. I've been in these small student pulpits that have very few kids. So that's, a blessing and a challenge in its own way. But I'm just really excited for the position and to move across the country and all these new opportunities. It's really a season of newness, as with Shavuot coming up this weekend.
So let's shift to challenges, which is, and again, I want to touch on the way I remember feeling coming out of HUC. Again, I felt that I had a clear view of the Jewish world, and then you get into a specific community like Akron, and you understand that Akron has its own stuff and its own needs and its own story. But when you're leaving HUC, you're becoming a rabbi, we say in Klal Yisrael, and so your view of the world is the great Jewish world. So what do you think are the most pressing concerns now? We have our own, we would say our own thing in Akron as to what we want. But what would you say when you look out at the Jewish world today? What's the most pressing concern for the Jewish world?
Well, I'll say 6 months ago, when I was going through the placement process, I think the greatest concern for the Jewish world, which was on my mind, which is a concern, but it's also it was a little bit of a blessing for me, is that there's a rabbi shortage going around, believe it or not. There aren't as many students enrolling in schools, so it was a blessing that I kind of got to pick where I wanted to go in some sense. But that's also a struggle, thinking about the future of our school and the future of the movement. Where are our leaders coming from? So that's one challenge that's really on my mind. And I think the challenge which hits home for all of you here in Akron is safety is also so much on my mind. Physical safety after the news of the last few weeks, but also spiritual and emotional safety. How are we building our communities so people feel that they are safe at all moments of their lives, if they're mourning, if they're celebrating, if they're struggling. How do we do that? And it's something that us as leaders and the lay leaders in the Kahal here, in the community here, it's something that we get right sometimes, and something we also don't get it right. So I think really safety is the big challenge on my mind.
So that was something that came up certainly. I don't know that the average person in the Jewish world was fully aware of it, but in this last year in the Reform movement, there have been 3 major ethical investigations, and it was really an uncovering of challenges that we've perhaps not been upfront about over the last century even. So specifically to HUC, where you were as a student, where Rabbi Horowitz and I were ordained as well, one of those investigations uncovered a lot of sexism, at times deep sexual harassment, and in some ways it was shared with us and the public as a bit of a history. In other words, this is what happened 50 years ago, this is what happened 30 years ago, this is what happened 10 years ago. What was it like for you right now? You're in the moment. So what was it like for you as a woman? Here we are 50 years after the first woman was ordained, which we're celebrating. And at the same time, we were sort of mourning in that 50 years how women and others, but particularly women, were treated in our own institution. How was it for you? How did you feel you were treated? How did you feel as a student?
That's a great question. It's that safety is like a double-edged sword there again, or the report really is a double-edged sword in a lot of ways. I read the report, the HUC report specifically, as I was shocked, I was saddened, I was also a little optimistic that only a few students had come forward, and I know that there are some that didn't, but I think that's also reflective of the changing culture at HUC, which is great. We can talk about the URJ report, and I encourage you all, if you haven't read the URJ report, to read it and to speak up and email people at the URJ, because that is equally as disturbing. But the HUC report, it is a lot of history. I felt nothing but safe at HUC. I felt like I had, especially in Cincinnati, access to my administrators, access to my professors, and it wasn't just to ask them a question about Bible or Talmud or whatever I was studying. They deeply cared about me as a student, and they cared about me as a rabbi in formation, and I really believe I got the best education possible. I know that's not what every student enrolled at HUC feels like right now. I know some of them would still voice that they don't always feel safe, and that's important to remember, that you can hear my experience, but know that there are others that don't necessarily feel that way. But I would say that it is a changing time. You know, if you read the HUC report, there were women who spoke up, who complained that they had to go downstairs into the basement of a building that they weren't always in to use the restroom, because there were no women's restrooms, because there were no men originally. And it's amazing that now we have gender-inclusive restrooms and access and nursing rooms for students, because the school really respects, or they're moving towards respecting and understanding that students come in all different shapes, and we're at all kinds of different life points. We have a lot of second career professionals who are enrolled in school. We have new mothers, we have young couples, all of these things. So it's hopeful that they're changing, but you know, change is slow.
And I think, you know, for many of us here, you know, I think for the 3 of us, we have a very, and maybe for more of us, especially those who may have helped pay for some of those classes, we have a personal connection to HUC in the way that perhaps you have a personal connection to Temple Israel or to your alma mater. But I would encourage you to look at some of these reports, and to listen to Rabbi Barrett, and also because it reflects, we are a mirror image. In other words, our institutions are microcosms of these other institutions. They're just bigger and more public. So I think we're learning a lot, and I was reading those reports and thinking back to our own institutions today. are we as inclusive as we should be? What are the areas in which we need to be asking these questions? You know, HUC hired a law firm, and they asked everybody to come forward, whoever had a complaint, and then they spent months studying them, and then they reported on it. So we don't have the resources to do that, but we should ask the same question. So I want to move to a little bit of a more fun lightning round for you. So tell us, what was your favorite class?
Well, this one could go all day. I think my two favorite classes, my first one is last spring I took a class with Dr. Mark Wachowski, who just recently retired from HUC, in Reform Responsa, which Responsa is the body of literature which rabbis write. Someone asks a rabbi a question, and the rabbi, reads all of the halakha, all of the law on that question, and then they kind of write all that down, and then they offer an opinion. So that should be really interesting to people, because as Reformed Jews, you would probably say something about halakha and your lack of relationship to it. We as Reformed Jews don't necessarily identify ourselves right away as Jews who might take on halakha in the same way as an Orthodox Jew might. So I took a class in what Reform Responsa is, and it's fascinating. You can go and check the books out from the library. I'm sure we have a few here. You can find answers to all kinds of questions. What should our relationship be to the American and Canadian and Israeli flags on the bima? What is a Reform mikvah? Should we use a Sefer Torah that was saved from the Holocaust? What are all of these? What are our answers to these questions as Reformed Jews? It's fascinating, and I hope to teach on Reform Responsa in the future. My other favorite class was I took one of the blessings of COVID. It was that it really kicked HUC into high gear, allowing us to take cross-campus classes. So we, as 4th and 5th year students, were allowed to take Zoom classes with professors at the New York and LA campuses. So I took a class with Dr. Eskenazi on the book of Samuel and the King David story, and we went in depth over an entire semester and looked at Shmuel, Aleph, and Bet, and I had honestly never learned the David story until that moment, so another great class with a scholar. She's terrific.
So I'm going to preface this by saying that this will not, the next question, this will not be the last time we ask you this question. And because we don't have time to go into the depth that we are going to want to go into, and that is every rabbinical student writes a thesis, which is never read, except by your advisor. That's the intent of the thesis. And it's a ton of work. It's a year worth of work. And how many pages was yours?
110-ish.
Okay. So you write these 110 pages. So you ready? So we have to ask Ashley about her thesis, because the title of her thesis is History of Temple Israel in Akron from 1911 to 1944. So 110 pages about us 100 years ago. So what should we know about ourselves?
Well, you all should know first and foremost that I think that speaks, the fact that I chose this as my topic to study for a year, I think speaks to the nature of this place. It also speaks to a little bit of how nerdy I am, that I wanted to work in the archives with Dr. Gary Zola, but this place is really special. There's something about smaller Midwestern communities which make people own their Judaism in a way that you don't always have to do in the bigger cities. Some may debate me on that, but that's my take on it. So I grew up here, and from the very beginning, I had to own my Judaism in a way that I don't think my friends from Chicago that I met at summer camp had to do. So it was thanks to you all and others who can't sit in these chairs this evening, who helped me pick this topic, along with Dr. Zola and the archives. But I wanted to take the story of Temple Israel through the Board of Trustees minutes and place that into historical context. I learned a lot about the rubber industry here, which I didn't know. I learned a lot about the Merriman Road building and the the purchase of the property and all kinds of money things. And I think one takeaway is that Jews have been struggling with financial issues in their synagogues for decades and decades and decades, and probably back to Maimonides and way before that. So I would say don't worry, that it will all be okay and we'll figure it out somehow. The fact that Rabbi Alexander, who was the rabbi from 1919, oh my gosh, I'm blanking now, 1919 until 1944, that he was never actually fired during the Depression, I think is just a beacon of hope. They were behind many weeks and a lot of money on his paycheck, but he was never let go officially. So maybe that calms you down, I don't know. But so I wanted to take the board minutes and take the Beacon Journal and other scholarly material out there and really place the story of Akron into historical context. And my takeaway is that all of the trends that hit New York and the New England communities and all of these big Jewish communities, they hit Akron in the same way. So we could tell the story of American Jewry through the eyes of Akron, through the eyes of Cleveland or Cincinnati or Dayton, and you would get all of these wonderful little just tidbits of people's lives through doing this project and doing a history on any congregation. So I'm gonna send Rabbi a copy, and you can all read it while you fall asleep at night. But it's true. I think that Temple Israel is really special, and you can add another rabbi to your collection of rabbis that came from this place.
So the last question is, so what are you, in a few weeks you'll get to start working as a rabbi and teaching and leading people at Northern Virginia Hebrew Congregation. What are you most excited about teaching and doing there?
So many things. I'm really looking forward to continuing the high holiday planning process, not to stress you or any clergy out, but they've already started the high holiday planning process. So that's exciting. It's hard to believe that, the Chagim are on people's radars once again. I'm really excited I get the opportunity to go to Camp Harlem, which feels, it hurts my heart a little bit because it's not Asrui or Gucci or any of the camps around here. But I'm excited. I love summer camp, and I'm really excited to meet the people there and hear their stories and be parts of their lives.
So this will not be the last time that Rabbi Barrett is on our bima, for sure. And as is the case, we have a little bit of tradition in our congregation that rabbis from Akron find their way back to Ohio, and even if they don't these days, what I notice is we start having congregants, some of you are in the room, who just watch these other rabbis on Friday nights, because now everything's on TV anyway. And so you can live in Akron and be a fan of Rabbi Barrett, as I'm sure some people will be watching on Friday nights. And Lois is here. Lois watches 4 rabbis every Friday night because she's known so many of the rabbis who've grown up in our congregation and has so many allegiances with other congregations too. So we'll be following you. But first, it's a great honor to invite Rabbi Horowitz to join me and you in front of our ark, and for everyone to stand as we offer you this blessing and invite you to carry our Torah around this congregation.
It is written in Pirkei Avot, Moshe kibel Torah mitzinai. Moses received the Torah at Mount Sinai. He transmitted it to Joshua. Joshua in turn passed it on to the elders, and the elders to the prophets. And the prophets transmitted the Torah to the sages of the great assembly. And the sages taught 3 things: be deliberate in judgment, raise up many disciples, and protect the integrity of the Torah. Morano Harav, Rabbi Ashley Barrett. This chain of tradition links Sinai to this very moment and continues now as it has in every generation as we place this Torah into your arms.
Our God and God of our ancestors, bestow your blessings on Rabbi Barrett and every congregation she serves. Instill in her wisdom and righteousness, steadfastness and devotion as she assumes the position of rabbi. Grant her a wise heart, candor, and courage. May she respond to every challenge with dignity and plant within her a full measure of your compassion that she might embody the words of our tradition. Please join us in Shakianu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. Amen. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam omed, al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaleya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaleya, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaleya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaleya, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Page 282.
Alina l'shabeach l'adon hakol, la'teked la le'otzer reshit, shelo asenu k'gyoyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo chzam k'achenu k'hem, v'gar aleinu k'chahamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die, and if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. This week, we lost one of the, I think it's safe to say, patriarchs of our congregation in the loss of Milt Wiskund. His memorial service is being planned for later this summer. In talking with his family briefly this week, I've shared our congregation's deep love for Milt and the many ways in which he gave to this congregation over many of, even some of the years you mentioned. Milt was able to be around during Rabbi Alexander's time. Milt was always a mensch and a great lover of this congregation and this community. Even when he disagreed with things that we may have done, he remained deeply committed, and we will miss him. And so we remember Milt Wiskund as we've lost him this week, and we add to his name those that we lost at this time in years past. Milton Cohen, Fanya Edelman, Rose Goldman Glasman, Meyer Goldberg, Harry Joseph Goodman, Jess Greenberger, Dr. Charles Green, Sylvia Henkin, Simon Hers, Paul Kaplan, Isidore Irv Katz, Bennett Kloner, Henry Krause, William Lazaro, Jack Letterman, Ralph Leeper, Alan Lieberman, Isaac Lieberman, Harold Licken, Dr. Harry G. Lieberman, Gail Ann Perry, Doris Rich, Sylvia Rosenthal, Dr. Irwin Weiner, William Weiner, and Helen Jo B. West. If there are names I mispronounced or names I didn't share, please share them. We remember our loved ones, those that we've lost, with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. As we've thought of those that we've loved and lost, we reach out to each other. We bless each other with the words of the priests. May God bless you and keep you. May God's presence be with you and be gracious unto you. May you feel God's presence always, and may it bring you peace.
Amen.
Please remain standing as we invite Ashley and her family to lead us in Kiddush as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reishit, ki hu yom techila lamikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu b'charta, ve'otanu kidashta,
מכל בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Okay. Before we say Motzi, I want to say one more brief word, which is due to some ironic circumstances of now live streaming everything in camera angles and lots of other things, we needed to buy a new Shabbat set, which we buy all of our ritual items, most of our ritual items, from the Wiskin Ceremonial Fund. So my regret is I had not yet, we were waiting for the challah cover, which has just come in. I was waiting to call Milt to send him a picture of this new set, which was recently purchased. And so we have this new beautiful Shabbat set that we will always remember that was brought to our congregation around the same time that we lost Milt, but very much in his honor. So we will show you now the new challah board and challah cover as we'll bless Motzi, if you want to hold it up. Hold that up for everybody. Join us in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. He's going to have some help. Please be seated for a couple brief announcements. Greg McMain's representing our board this evening. I'll share a couple announcements with us.
Shabbat Shalom. You might want to sit back because it's going to take a while tonight. There's a lot of announcements. First of all, I'd like to thank Rob, Jeremy, David, and Marlene for the wonderful music tonight, and Cantor Kathy as well. Lovely as usual. Rabbi Ashley Barrett, Mazel Tov. I remember seeing you around the halls of Merriman Road when you were this tall, probably 20 years ago, even longer, because you were there with my kids. And we're all incredibly proud of you. You're our own. And this past summer, you've shared some very difficult times with our family, with us at different times, and you've showed that you're the real deal. We wish you the best of luck, and we know you're going to be fantastic. You are fantastic now. So thanks for joining us. Shavuot Yizkor service is Sunday. Oops, I forgot one thing. You need to contact Becky Danowski for tomorrow to RSVP. Just come, starting at 3 p.m. Everybody come, starting at 3 p.m. Yizkor service is Sunday, June 5th at 9 a.m. in the library. Next Friday is confirmation. Please join us at 6:15. Our annual meeting is June 21st. Everybody please come to that too. There's going to be a little bit of a barbecue, so come. It's pretty light and casual, but please make it for that meeting. Then on got that wrong. Please RSVP for a Night with the Stars fundraising event by June 12th. Okay, it's going to be on June 25th, I believe. We've got a really good turnout of over 100 people so far, so please RSVP and come. We'd love to have you. Then, probably very importantly, Mitzvah Day weekend is June 25th and 26th. There will be projects for all ages and skill levels. Visit mitzvahdayakron.com or see the brochure in the lobby for details. But please turn out for that as well. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Before we close, I wanted to thank the Merriman Holiday Fund, who sponsored this incredible group of musicians that I had the pleasure to work with for the first time, some of them, and Marlene down there, who went to high school with my mother, I think, or Wiley Junior High, and they still remember each other, which is great. So please join us for Kehila Kadosha.
If you are a tent, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. If you are a temp, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha. Lai, 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 lai. If you are a temp, we're Nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. If you are a temp, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today and remember the dream. Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, Kedosha, Kehila, we stand here today Kedosha, and remember the dream. Lai, 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 lai.
Shabbat Shalom. Chag Shavuot Sameach. Shabbat Shalom.